What were your dreams in your early 20s? Were they the same, or did you plan to do something like this?
It was all one accident followed by another accident. There were no plans. I think uh, we got extremely lucky being in the right place at the right time. But to you because they like your product better than other people, or
Yeah.
generally a more sticky client base versus people who come to you for incentives and short-term bonuses and stuff like that. So we don't see the sense in going out there and putting 100 ads and raising money in order to do that, or giving people free broking for 6 months, because at the end of 6 months, the guy will still move to whoever has the best product.
Everyone, I'm Sarthak Goyal, a member of the Entrepreneurship Cell of Delhi Technological University, and I would be hosting Neo Presents Entrepr-On-Air, powered by Verzio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have with us co-founder and CIO of Zerodha, Mr. Nikhil Kamath. We feel elated to be able to host you for Neo Presents Entrepreneur, powered by Verzio. So before starting, how should I address you for the rest of the podcast?
You can call me Nikhil.
Okay,
That works.
great. So Nikhil, we are gratified by having someone of your stature in our series and hope to make the best out of this opportunity. This podcast is organized by E-Cell DTU, which is a non-for-profit organization run by students of Delhi Technological University. I am Sarthak Goyal, a third-year student who will be moderating this session. So when we were researching about you, we were focusing more on your teenage years and when you were developing as a person. So how would you describe your teen years? Were you popular in school, or were you a student?
So Sarthak, not really. I think I was a reasonably okay student. I wouldn't say I would get 95% or something like that, but much more in the 80% or 70% kind of range. I don't think I was a popular student as much as I was a student who was very scared by teachers and all of that, like a typical Indian school. I think teachers are very good at scaring kids into doing what they want them to do. So more on those lines, I would say.
So were you ever beaten by a teacher, by a ruler?
Yeah, of course. Not one, many. I think I've had many teachers beat me in my childhood.
So now is that a scary incident, or is it an incident you could laugh on?
I don't think it has left any real scars. I think they did what they thought was best. I don't know if it helped or not, but I don't think it has left any scars, no.
Okay, that's actually wonderful. So we all know about Nikhil Kamath, the entire journey, dropping out of school to do chess and then moving on and doing a job at a call center and then moving on and starting your own business as Zerodha, which is right now the number one stock broking company in India. Right. So what were your dreams in your early 20s? Were they the same, or did you plan to do something like this?
It was all one accident followed by another accident. There were no plans. I think we got extremely lucky being in the right place at the right time. But the goals and ambitions were much like any other 20-year-old, to be financially secure, to make some money, to have something that works or has worked professionally. So very, very common generic goals that we might all have, and very similar to what any other 20-year-old might have.
Oh, that's actually, every modest person has said the same thing, that I was at the right place at the right time and things fell in place. How was your school life? Any exciting stories you might want to share with us?
So my dad was a bank manager at Canara Bank. So he got transferred once every 3 years, and schooling happened in places like Karnal in Haryana, Delhi, Bangalore, a bunch of different towns, 3 years per town. I think the good thing about a lifestyle like that is you learn to be able to make friends very quickly, because every 3 years your entire set of friends changes.
Right.
I remember being naughty, but I think when anybody looks back at their life today, they all think they were naughty at some level. I think we all kind of have an inflated sense of how naughty we actually were. But it was very unimpressive. Like I don't think I did anything spectacular in my school years or anything like that. Life revolved around going to school, going back home, maybe playing whatever you play with, the people on your street, be it cricket or, we all have played gully cricket growing up with a tennis ball and with chairs as our
as a wicket.
Stuff like. Yeah. So much like that.
Right. So you dropped out of school to, to take chess as your career and become an Indian team member. Was it your decision or was it your parents' decision?
I think it was a very organic decision. Chess in India, I mean, I don't know how it is now, but I'm talking about 20 years ago when I was 14 years old or something like that. This is in the 90s. It's a very expensive sport to play as a teenager. I mean, you need to have a coach full time. There aren't any real sponsors for chess. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's much of a spectator sport. I'm sure things have changed along the way. I think chess saw its peak when the whole Cold War between the US and Russia was happening, because all the money and the popularity chess gained in in that decade is what we are still reaping the benefits of. Because, when that Bobby Fischer game, etc. was happening, it had become like pseudo war through chess. And I don't think anything like that will happen in the future to make chess as prominent as it once was. I think it's a sport which is dying slowly, especially with the advent of computers, which will typically always beat whoever is playing against them, or B, the fact that people don't really enjoy watching other people play chess. So there can never be too much money around the sport or sponsors coming in. Yeah. So
the chess as its own has changed a lot. It has become a much more of a spectator sport in recent years, especially through YouTube. Many chess players, the Gujarati, who's number 2 Indian chess player, he streams regularly. Many chess players all over the world stream YouTube, and there are lakhs and millions of views to actually pay to see on YouTube.
Wow, let me guess, Sarthak, you played chess and playing was your idea, wasn't it?
It was a team idea, but we're all into chess. We see chess a lot,
So you watch a lot of games and... do you all read on theory about chess and...
we don't get time, but I think I do have Shivam Rastogi in the chat who's eager to play. He's one of the chess eagerists, if I must say. So he has read a lot of books about Bobby Fischer and stuff.
Oh, nice. Definitely. Okay, we'll play a game. I mean, I'll lose, but we'll still play a game.
Yeah, we will at the end. How supportive were your parents when the decision was happening at your house, that you'll be dropping out of school to pursue chess as your occupation?
So my parents are slightly different. So I come from a middle class Brahmin South Indian family, but for some reason they had zero expectations of me. That black child in your family who nobody expects anything of. I think when you start there, everything is better than nothing. And they never really had too many expectations, or they never tried to force me to do one thing over another. So all the choices I've made at some level have been my decision. And one way of parenting, sometimes the kids get lucky and sometimes they don't. But my parents were very much from the former school, wherein they didn't really try and interfere in my decision making too much.
Okay. The new education policy allows students to continue and discontinue their studies at any point, at time. So do you think this will help people in following the passion? Like if this policy was there when you were dropping out of school, then would you have gone back to school to complete your education?
Outside of being allowed to go back to school, I think it's more a factor of once you've lost a year or 2 years or 3 years, be it whatever, at some level it's embarrassing to go back when your classmates are 3 years your senior, because you're you're going to class with people who are much younger than you. It doesn't make a difference at 30 maybe, but at 14, if you're going to school with 10-year-old kids, I think it wouldn't be the most fun experience for someone who's going back. So education policy aside, I think
I mean, see your the entire timeline. What stands out is that the call center job that you did, and how did it come across?
I got a job when I was 17. I still remember I had to give them a false birth certificate because you have to be 18 to get a full-time job.
Yeah.
But luckily I had some people who were friends in that company and I joined. This is the boom years for the call center, right?
Yeah.
I joined a company called 24/7. When I joined, I think it had 150 people or something like that. And when I quit the company, it had something like 10,000 people.
Wow.
So the company did extremely well, and by virtue of having joined early, they kept promoting people who were there from the very beginning. And it was a fun experience. I really liked and enjoyed the company of people I worked with there. And a lot of them still continue to be friends, and we keep in touch and we catch up every now and then. It's been a long time, but we still keep in touch. Some of them actually are my colleagues even today. They work on the broking company.
That's wonderful. How has life changed in the recent times because of the pandemic and all of this, crisis that revolves around us?
It hasn't changed much in our industry. So we are one of the few industries which actually did well during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I think people had a lot of time and they wanted to open a trading account or a demat account, never had the time. So during the pandemic, I think everybody and their friends and their drivers and their Malis, everybody has opened a trading account and are buying and selling stocks on an intraday basis now. So it was fairly hectic. I think the last 6 months, we saw a lot of new people come in. We probably opened over 1 million accounts in the last 5 months or 6 months. So it's not been how the pandemic has been for most industries. Our industry has done fairly well.
So did you forecast that this will happen in March and April, May, if I talk about? When it was starting?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, who knew anything about the pandemic, right?
That's true, but like at sometime back in the back of your head, did you have this that I'll have 1 million more people open their demat accounts in 5 months?
Not really, not at all. I mean, it's a very unpredictable world we live in today.
Yeah.
1 million people might have opened accounts in the last 6 months, but maybe only 100,000 people open in the next 6 months. It's so many moving parts and so many factors which determine what the retail audience of India does. If you have to think about it rationally, and let's assume once the moratorium ends and many companies which are listed and unlisted shut down, I think there will be a lot of chaos in the market, and all it takes is like a 20% crash to kill the trading activity of the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Whenever it crashes, then things will be slow for like a month or two, and then they slowly come back up again and stuff like that.
Indian majorities prefers investing in gold or in real estate. That has been the ideology. So, do you think it will shift over equities like it is over the lockdown? We saw that people are talking more about investing in equities or trading over options or investing in mutual funds. Do you think this penetration would advance even more in tier 2, tier 3 of our country?
Yeah, personally, I think so. I think equities are doing well, not just because of the returns that stock markets have seen, but how badly the other places where one can invest money are doing. Real estate, for all practical matters, has done nothing in the last 5 or 10 years. It's a very illiquid asset class, which is highly mispriced in India because for us, even today, at the end of the day, it's a very cultural thing to own a home. I think a typical Indian middle-class household's mentality will be the boy or the girl is settled if they have a job, they have their own home, and the price of real estate is skewed because of these factors. At rental yields of 1.5%, which is generally what we're running it across the country, if I have to pay 100 rupees to buy a home, or I have to pay 1.5 rupees to rent the same home, it logically and mathematically always makes more sense to rent, especially if the underlying value of the home is not going up. I think the newer generation, the people in their 20s today are definitely kind of figuring it out now, and I think the trend will continue.
Okay, so Zerodha has multiple platforms. There's Zerodha Coin, there is Zerodha Varsity. So these two names that I've taken is because these are free of cost. Like Zerodha doesn't own anything from Coin and Varsity, as far as I know. Yeah. So what was the reason behind launching these platforms?
I don't think there was a monetary reason. In India, even now, if you were to count the number or the amount of people who either directly or indirectly have access to stock markets, is only about 5% or maybe 6% of our population. And I'm being very, very lenient when I come up with that number. The same in America is maybe 95%. So I think the intention is not to monetize these products, but to figure out how to educate the community so we can increase the pool of people who have access to the stock markets. And hopefully these are the first steps, and with higher amount of education, we'll have better investors who come in and invest and have exposure in the stock markets.
Fair enough. So when the pandemic started, the market crashed. Market went, I won't say crash, but it went down. It took a deep dive. And then in the recent, if a month if talk about, especially in the last 2 weeks of August, the market has gone up. It has gone up rapidly. Do you think it's a buying panic that we see in people, or people are just interested about buying? They're sitting at home, they're bored, and then they're buying anything they come across?
Many factors. Like we spoke earlier, money is available right now. Liquidity is ample in the system.
Right.
We have Western economies which are printing money, but a lot of that does trickle down into the Indian ecosystem as well, be it through FPIs or hedge funds or PE investors who come into the country. I think Reliance alone has raised incredible amount of foreign capital in the last couple of months. I think also the fact that typically we also put a lot of money in bank FDs as a country, and the rates have plummeted. You only get 4.5-5% in a bank FD right now, which is barely beating inflation in a way. So these two combined with real estate, like we spoke earlier, have kind of taken away many of the other opportunities capital had to go to in the last few years. I think that is resulting in a lot more money coming into the stock markets, and that trend will probably continue. As long as global economies are doing well, I think that money will continue to come in.
So don't you think that the market has gone a little too up than it should have? It needs to come a little down and segment at a position where it needs to, make a foundation to go up even further.
Well, personally, I would agree with you. We run an asset management company called Beacon, and we manage money for ultra HNIs across the country. And right now, our books, we're running at 80% hedges, which is probably the highest amount of hedges we've ever had. So personally, I'm with you on that. I think stocks are not performing as well as their inherent fundamentals are doing. I think stocks are overvalued compared to the earnings of the companies, and that will change at some point.
What was the reason behind starting Beacon? You had a very well-established startup already, Zerodha, and then you started Beacon again.
It was again a problem I was trying to solve for us. Like me and Nitin were allocating capital to private banks, LRS funds, wealth managers, and we found the ecosystem very inefficient. Now, typically, if I put 100 rupees with the fund manager, the guy who sells me the fund manager will charge me 1 rupee or 2 out of that 100. Then the fund manager will charge me another 2 rupees a year. Immaterial of me making money, losing money, he still charges. And then there are arbitrary fees like, setup cost, exit fees. They'll have a lock-in wherein I can't take out the money for the next 2 years or 3 years. So it was a very inefficient ecosystem. So the $100 I put in, only about 95 probably went to the fund manager. We wanted to change that. So we said we'll remove all of these fees. We'll say no middlemen, open-ended fund, no lock-ins, no annual fees. Only if the client makes a buck. In TrueBeacon, if you put in 100, all 100 goes to the fund manager. If it becomes 110, we charge 10% of the profits or one as fee. And we just try to create a really client-aligned asset management company, which wasn't there up until now. Early days, but we'll know, over the next 2 or 3 years how well it does. But the first investors are very happy. They've made some money and very efficiently. So hopefully it does well.
Yeah, it will, I guess, because it is functioning on the entire idea that if you earn, then I'll earn.
Yeah.
Speaking on that, you have to manage 2 startups right now, TrueBeacon and Zerodha. Do you get time to trade yourself?
I do. I mean, I wouldn't even consider this as managing companies because there are so many other people, right? At the end of the day, it's a team effort. And Zerodha has over like 1,500 people. TrueBeacon has its own CEO, its own staff. And with me or without me, I think these companies will continue to do how well they can do. So I don't look at it as, like personal time or how much involvement I have or anything like that.
So you trade very often?
I trade often. Yeah,
okay.
I've been trading every day for, 16, 17 years now, and I love it. And it's what keeps me going.
Was it a time when trading every day became monotony? Monotonous?
Not really, Sarthak. The thing with trading is you're never right and you're never truly wrong. Nobody can predict what will happen in the future. I mean, nobody knows what will happen, let alone tomorrow. It's crazy for people to predict what will happen in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, stuff like that. So that keeps you going, and the markets keep surprising you, and they keep doing new things. So it's interesting.
So chess is a game which requires you to predict how the opponent reacts to your moves. And so is the market. The market has those technical indicators, and it also has psychology involved. What the other person thinks and what do you think? What similarities do you draw, and your experience with chess, did it help you with your experience in stockbroking? Hello? Guys, did he leave? Hello?
He got disconnected. Letting him.
अभी तक से चल रहा है ना?
काफी से letting him in.
He's back.
Sorry, I think I got disconnected for some.
We'll cut this part. I mean, we have this liberty.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was saying that chess requires you to predict how the opponent reacts to your moves and see where you're going and see what all can happen. And so is the market when you're using different indicators, when you're using different psychology, thinking about what the other person is thinking. Do you think your experience with chess helped you when you trade?
Subconsciously, maybe. I think chess is people have different opinions of chess, but to me, chess is so much about memory more than anything. I think chess comes down to having looked upon what games were played in the past and being able to recall them very quickly. Much less how creative you are or how intelligent you are or any of those factors. Especially when like you were talking about blitz or rapid or anything like that, you will need to know what games were played and who did what, and you'll have to be able to recall that very quickly. So maybe subconsciously it helped, but not very obviously. I don't think so.
Okay. The new changes that are made by SEBI about the margins and the profit you want today, you won't get it till T+1 day or T+2 day to trade again. Do you think how important do you think are they, and what impact are they going to have on the market?
Some of them I totally agree with, some I do not. The intention is right. I think to reduce the leverage available on an intraday basis or an overnight basis to the retail client is good. I think people will survive for much longer. and it'll be better for the ecosystem if the amount of leverage is curtailed to a certain extent.
Okay.
There are brokers out there who will let you buy stuff for 20,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees in your account, which I think is a short way of, burning your capital very quickly when you use that much leverage. So I like the intent, I like the direction they want to go in, but along the way have a few things become really complicated for a lot of people. I think it has happened, yeah. So some things need to change, and they need to rationalize a bunch of rules that they've brought in recently.
Do you think these regulations would stop the volatility that has increased in the market?
I don't think so. I mean, see, the thing is, when there is most of the volume in India comes from, speculators. Like 90% of the volume in India is from derivatives. Much less from people hedging their position, but more from people punting on one side or another. When you make it hard for these people to enter the market, I think the markets will become a lot more illiquid, and the impact cost will go higher. And we already have arcane taxes like security transaction tax, which are kind of screwing that market up. But it will actually add volatility if there are lesser number of speculators in the market.
Okay. So I will go back to your interview with Business Insider. Over there you said, yes, we have been approached for being funded multiple times, but today we don't really have any need for external funding. And you have had 1 million subscribers. I won't say subscribers, but people who open Demat accounts over this lockdown period. And you've had good, I think the maximum share of the market is held by Zerodha. And if we expand the Indian population, the percentage who is interested in investing in equity or in options or in mutual funds, then they might end up coming in Zerodha. So don't you think that taking in funding would help you with expanding quickly? You can reduce your brokerage cost or your, the Demat opening account price or whatever.
Not really. I mean, so Sarthak, for investors, we don't charge anything. It's free, so you can't go lower than that.
Yeah.
If somebody buys today and does not sell on the same day, we don't charge anything.
Yeah.
If somebody is buying and selling on the same day or trading derivatives, we charge 20 rupees.
20 rupees.
I think this is already a very, very nominal cost, and somebody might be doing it at 15 or 10 or whatever. But when you compare this to the other charges a client pays, like stamp duty and transaction charge and security transaction tax, I think this is immaterial, the brokerage that we charge. So that wouldn't help. Also, we have never done any marketing or ads, or we've never had a cost of acquisition, because all the accounts we open are inbound calls. People call us to open their accounts. We never cold call someone or put an ad out there hoping to get business. I think this is a better way, at least for us. It might not work for some people, but the people who come to you because they like your product better than other people are generally a more sticky client base, versus people who come to you for incentives and short-term bonuses and stuff like that. So we don't see the sense in going out there and putting 100 ads and raising money in order to do that, or giving people free broking for 6 months, because at the end of 6 months, the guy will still move to whoever has the best product. So our whole intention is to spend time and money on building a better product, which we are able to do right now. And even if somebody else comes in and gives short-term incentives to somebody, I think they'll come back to us eventually for the better product.
So we don't. I mean, that's it. If I take it back, then it's like Zerodha is not looking for any. I mean, to cut down to get low-term customers. Looking for customers who stay for a very long time. So, according to the statistics, India is getting its maximum funding in the fintech department as compared to other countries. Mm-hmm. So, how do you review this? Like, do you see people are in why fintech department?
Yeah, because it's such a big sector, right? So in India, let alone fintech, but even banking, the penetration is not more than 40-50%. How many people truly use banking in India? So I think the ecosystem is large. There is a huge growing middle income population in the country, and more people are coming to towns. Today, there is a lot more people coming into the middle income category, and as these people come in, they will need banking, they will need financial assets, they will need fintech products in a way. So, just by virtue of how big the market is, I think a lot more money is coming into fintech.
Okay. You're an investor, you invest in startups. What part do you give more value to? Is it the team? Is it the product? Is it the problem that they are solving?
I kind of personally, Sarthak, I stick to the public markets. Nitin looks at startups and private markets a bit more than I do.
Okay.
So I think it's a very hard thing to do, invest in companies which have not yet started making money. There are so many factors that play, much like you mentioned, the quality of people, the industry they are in. For me, if I had to weigh one metric overall other, I would say which industry the company is trying to solve a problem in and at what point that industry is right now. I think to figure out the sectors which are close to the inflection point, I think if you're able to pick the sector well, then the company becomes secondary, because sectors which boom, generally a lot more companies do well in them.
Okay. What do you think in the startups matter? Their value or their valuation?
I mean, valuations don't make any kind of a difference in the real world, I think.
But I mean, they bring money.
Yeah, they do bring money, but I think startups which focus too much on valuation it's a big problem right now, because I think there are many companies out there who are much less concerned about actually turning a profit, but much more about what they will be valued in this round and the next round and so forth. I think startups which are frugal, which have a long-term perspective of what their company can be and less inclined towards what a short-term valuation kicker might be, are generally places which I personally would like better.
Okay. So what do you think is the forecast for Zerodha for the next 4 to 6 months?
Hopefully more of the same. Right now we're growing and a lot more people are coming into the markets. So I'm sure we'll put out great products out there. We'll have new kind of products that we offer. We'll hopefully see as many people who were interested in coming in over the last 6 months. We would hope for that trend to continue. And at the bottom of all this is we hope the markets remain stable and a conducive place for people to actually invest money and earn return. I think as long as that happens, everything else is, a side effect, as long as the markets do well.
Yeah. So if the people get return, they'll continue coming in and, becoming the customers.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to, some quick short questions, which you can answer in a line or in a word, or if you could go on explaining whatever you want to. Okay. So what's your favorite chess opening, if you remember any? Is there any favorite chess opening?
I would use Roy Lopez a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll tell my team to find a tactic to defend that right now itself. Yeah. Have you ever been caught in a fool's net?
Have I ever been caught in a fool's
Net.
Fool's made? Yeah, of course.
Okay. Have you ever lost a great sum of money when you were trading?
Of course, yeah.
Like, have you ever lost, I was reading The Reminiscence of a Stock Operator, which is a book, and it explains the entire psychology and of your, a type of an autobiography. Not an autobiography, but like a reminiscence of a person's. So he lost his entire worth, entire value multiple times. So did it happen with you? Or were you always cautious?
It's a great book. I love the book. And I have probably gone bust at least at the very beginning, the first 5-6 years, multiple times.
Have you ever had this experience? Like in the present time, we had a stock known as RT Drugs. It was trading at 40 and it went to 4,000. It had a 91 times jump. So have you had this any trade something?
I have never had something like that happen. I think I stick to larger companies. I shy away from the smaller ones. I have never had something like that happen. I mean,
not even in the option trading?
option trading again, I'm more an option writer than an option buyer.
Okay.
So no.
So you like to minimize the risk, and take smaller profits.
Yeah, I think beyond a point you have to, because your corpus of money grows and you can't really afford to take risks. You have to have diversification, and you need to especially when third party capital is involved and stuff like that.
What do you think was your best decision ever?
In terms of trading,
Anything in terms of life?
I haven't made it yet, Sarthak. I'm waiting. I think I'm yet to make that decision, life-changing decision.
So what is your worst decision? Have you ever made a worst decision yet? Or
I have a tendency to procrastinate, think about what will happen 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, or spend more time than I should worrying about what happened a few years ago. I think I don't spend enough time living in today, and I think a lot of regret around that. I mean, I've still not been able to inculcate thinking about today solely outside of all the influences of yesterday and tomorrow. But I think the day I'm able to do that will be my best decision, and my worst decision is not having been able to do that yet.
that's actually nice yin yang loop. Talking about regrets, I don't think so if it was regret or something, but it's a question my team pitched in right now on WhatsApp. They want to ask if we have regrets of not going to college.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I don't know about what one learned in college. Maybe that is not such a big regret. But when I meet people today, everybody talks about college as the most fun times in their life. It was the best time ever. They made their real friendships in college, and friendships which lasted a lifetime and stuff like that. So I never had that. And whenever you meet a bunch of friends, if they're from the same college, the conversation always goes there, or about whichever college they went to. And it does make you wonder as to, did you lose out on so much that you've never had that experience? So yeah, I do feel bad about it.
Okay. Any funny moment or embarrassing moment from your school life, or like even after that from call center or at Zerodha? Somewhere, something funny incident you would like to share with the audience or with us?
There are many, many funny incidents that have happened. I think if I have to go back to school, I think I had to pretend like I'd done something wrong, or I was being reprimanded for something, and I had to take somebody and pretend like they were my parents to, let me go back and write exams and stuff like that. Yeah, there's been plenty of monkey business which has happened when I was younger.
I mean, that defines the meeting you got for the teachers. If you take your friend as your parent.
Yeah.
What is your typical work day like? The markets open at 9.
Yeah.
What's the typical work day like?
Yeah, so I wake up at about 7 or 7:30. I go into work at about 8:30. And I'm there up until the evening, depending on what's going on. So maybe 7 or 8, I go back home. I tend to play table tennis or work out, have dinner, go to bed. So weekdays are pretty repetitive like that. Not much happens. I'm not very social during the week. On the weekends, I tend to catch up with some friends and, have a drink, have a beer or something like that.
Okay. Do you trade on that special occasional period on Diwali? For Diwali, the market opens for a particular hours. So you do?
I do. Yeah, not for auspicious reasons.
Okay. For the market reasons?
Yeah, for the market reasons. Because you have an open book in many positions and stuff like that, right?
Okay.
So based on that, not because it's fully to buy stock on that day or anything.
How do you de-stress? Obviously, in this, occupation, we have seen different movies. We've seen The Wolf of Wall Street and the stuff he took to de-stress. What do you do?
I think I would say, how do I de-stress? I think workout is a big way to de-stress. I would say, it doesn't sound good, but alcohol to a certain extent helps. And what else do I do to de-stress? I like meeting people. And I think meeting people is a big stress buster for me. Just meeting people, talking to people, watching people.
Okay. What was the turning point in your life?
Uh, I mean, very simply, I mean, without sounding very special in any way, I would say the point where you didn't have to worry about money anymore. You didn't have to worry if what you want to do next year for money if ABC happens. When you have enough backups in place financially, there's a sense of security which comes in, and I don't think it's an overnight thing, but I would say that is the most significant moment which defines, the last 10 years of my life.
What are the most 5 used apps on your phone right now?
Swiggy,
Okay.
by far the most, because I order in a lot.
Okay.
Swiggy, I use QZ and the Ken for news.
Okay.
I like QZ, I like the Ken, I like the Quint, I like the alternative news medias, because mainstream have become like a reality TV show right now, right? I mean, it's just filled with rubbish, like the old school news channels and newspapers.
Yeah.
What else is on my phone? Quint, Swiggy. I use Ola sometimes if I'm traveling and I need a cab. So if I'm in Bombay or Delhi, I tend to use Ola. So I have that. And of course, Netflix and Prime. Yeah.
So do you binge watch a lot of shows?
I do. I watched something called Fodder recently, which I absolutely loved.
Okay.
It's a TV series about the Mossad and the Hamas, and
I'll put that in my watch list.
yeah, really good. Yeah. I have my all-time favorite TV show, which is called Elementary. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I have not.
Sherlock Holmes, but set in New York City. Really good.
I've seen Sherlock Holmes, but I've not seen Elementary.
You should.
Is it the one with the Sherlock Holmes is a female Sherlock Holmes?
No, he's male, but I think Lucy Liu plays Watson. Joan.
Okay, I do remember seeing something like this on Netflix, but I never completed the series.
It's lovely. It's one of the best shows I've watched.
So what's your favorite pastime?
Favorite pastime? All of this, Netflix. I play badminton. I used to play a lot of football. I don't anymore because of the pandemic, obviously. But when I could, football was a lot of fun.
Do you go to office right now, or like everything is at home?
So I've been lucky. I've gotten to go to office throughout the lockdown.
Throughout the lockdown?
Yeah.
Oh.
We were in essential services, right?
Okay.
The government wanted stock markets to remain open, so all the brokers and SEBI intermediaries, we all were in essential services. So I went throughout the lockdown, so it's been office every day.
Great. That's actually, I don't know, I mean, you're one of the most lucky people. Right. So come to the concluding questions now. Before saying that, I would like to say you have a beautiful house.
Thank you so much.
What keeps you going? Who or what is your biggest source of inspiration?
I don't know if I would put it down to one person or a group of people, but I think the markets at some level, the unpredictable nature of markets keep me going. I look forward to sitting on my terminals, looking at every day and seeing, what new and what more can happen on that day.
What would you tell your 20-year self?
I would say things will be okay either way, success, no success, great family, interpersonal relationships, not so great family, interpersonal relationships. I think don't take things too seriously.
Okay. We had any relationships in school?
School, yeah. I mean, not in school, but I think right after school. Yeah.
When you were playing chess?
Not even during chess. I think relationships have many definitions, right? In school, I think if you held hands with someone, you had but I think the first real one must have happened at about 18 or something.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell the listeners but haven't had the chance to? Anything?
No, nothing. I mean, you guys are in the third year, right?
Yeah, we on the call we have third and second years.
Yeah, yeah.
But the people listening over this, I think, would be more college audience.
Right. I think don't let people. I mean, I'm not talking about families or friends or whatever, but in a very generic sense, don't let people put too much pressure on you, and don't kind of feel you need to compete at a certain level or be a certain way depending on what other people think you should do.
Okay.
Take your time, sit down, actually figure out what you want as a person. It's a very simple thing to say, but a very, very hard thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, we are getting different companies coming in for placements. And even though we do know where we want to go, but when we see the stipend of any other company, we do fill the form, irrespective of whether that thing suits us or not.
Yeah.
We'll keep that point in mind. Have you seen The Big Short?
I have, yeah.
Any views on that particular movie?
Good movie, well made. I like the movie, yeah. And I am actually another person who makes, I think if I have to look back upon my trading history, I've made more money being short on the market than long on the market.
Wow.
So I kind of relate to that a lot.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the last sponsored question.
Yeah.
Entrepr-On-Air is sponsored by Neo Global Cards, a new age international card for students aspiring to study abroad. Neo Global Card is India's first zero forex markup card. It offers a card on Visa platform and a mobile app, which makes it convenient for students. In the recent past, a lot of students are going abroad to pursue their higher education. What, according to you, are the financial requirements they have to keep in mind? And what are your thoughts regarding the Neo Global Card?
Good. If you're not charging any forex fees, I think it is a good thing. I think don't pile on too much student debt. I think if you are in the position to get a scholarship or have a family which can afford it and all of that, sure, go for it. But I would say it's always a bad idea to take on too much debt at the very beginning of your career.
Okay. So now I'll send you the link for the chess match.
Okay, super. That's it.
Okay. Got it.
After I heard that you play the Rui Lopez, I'm really scared.
Why?
Most scared, the opening, according to me, is Queen Gambit. Beating Queen Gambit is very hard. And then Rui Lopez.
Oh, should I start? I can do a pen.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so Sarthak, first move.
E2 to E4. Pawn E2 to E4. Yeah.
E7, that's E7 to E5. We are on black.
Yeah.
Yeah, so knight to B6. Knight B8 to B6. Pawn F7 to F6. Okay. Pawn B7 to B6. We might get flagged.
No, we won't.
Okay. Bishop C8 to C7. Knight G8 to E7. E7. Okay, now where is Sir going to castle?
Okay. We blocked the queen. We blocked them.
I think we should keep our options open. Bishop G. Pawn G7 to G6. Okay. Pawn d7 to d6. This is intense.
Let's take the knight. The
Sure.
knight.
Yeah, I think we should open the position up a bit. Okay, take the knight. E7 to d5. Yeah.
Mm.
No, that's fine. Queen d8 to d7.
Yeah.
And we'll castle on the queen side. Yeah, queen side.
Castle on the queen side.
Long castle. Just put the king. Just drag the king and put him to c8.
C8.
I think, yeah. c8. That should castle. Okay, perfect. Bishop f8 to g7. Okay. Rook h8 to e8. Rook h8 to e8.
E8, yeah.
Yeah.
Should we move the queen from...
Okay, that's scary.
Should we move the queen from d7 to g4? Should we?
G4, just let me see. G4. He'll just push the left pawn. I mean, what's the point? If you have something.
We can. h2 to h7 to h6. We can push double, no?
Okay, go ahead, Manish. Knight c6 to b8. B8. Oh, rest in peace.
B8.
No takebacks.
You want to take it back?
Can would you allow?
Would allow.
Yeah. So send an undo request. Top. Adish in the top. Yeah. So if you could accept it. Yeah. Maybe 8. Each
Knight
other.
b8.
Yeah.
Because he's attacking from the king side now. Bishop b7 to bishop takes on d5. Kill the bishop with the bishop. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. We don't have to worry about this. Knight b8 to a6. Okay, that was a bad move.
Taking the knight to the corner. Kill the pawn.
Oh, that's just a bad move.
Wait.
No. If you kill the pawn, the knight dies.
The knight goes, yeah. The knight goes anyway, it is at the end. Move pawn from E6. Move pawn from E5 to E4. E5 to E4.
Yeah. His pawn is advancing and it may queen. That's a bad move. Turn out. king c8 to b7. Queen d7 to b5. d7 to b5. Take with the king. Okay, we just lost the knight. Yeah, take with the king, take with the king. Take with the queen. King to b7.
Let's push the pawn. F pawn.
G pawn maybe. It doesn't matter. The position
It will block to block it more. No, see.
Bishop to f8. Yeah, this position is just gone. King to c8. Yeah. Push the h pawn. H pawn. Let's push it.
Yeah.
Please give me white again.
Yeah, Adish, can you invite?
I got it. I played
Okay,
it.
but okay, yeah. So see.
Okay, so
Let's do the same.
Okay, yeah. e5.
B knight to c6.
c6. Push the h pawn once. h6. d6. Pawn to d6. Pawn g8 to e7. Oh, no, knight g8 to e7, sorry. Okay, trade the knight. E7 takes on d5. Yeah, it's fine. G7, push the G pawn, G7 to G6. Okay, he's doing the same thing. Push up F8 to G7.
Yeah, we'll castle this way.
Okay, short castle. Bring the king to G8. Yeah. Okay. Take on D4.
No, wait. Can we kill the pawn? Oh, wait, D4, yes. Sorry.
Exactly.
The pawn. Yeah. But we might not have the end advantage.
We definitely don't have the end advantage. Take with the knight.
He gave you a piece there, I think.
You will have the end piece. Kill with the bishop.
No, don't. Push c5, pawn to c5.
Ooh.
This just might work.
Yeah. Should we take it?
Rook on a1.
From the bishop from g7 to rook at
G7 to A1.
G7 to a1. A1.
Okay, now the queen is on a very dangerous diagonal. But rook f8 to e8. Let's just stick to the basics. Bishop c8 to e6. If he takes with the bishop, take with the rook.
I think we did something new. Yeah.
Rook b8 to a8 to b8. Bishop e6 to d7. e6 to d7. Bishop to c6. Queen to d7.
So take the pawn from with the bishop now. c6 is being protected by the rook.
नहीं रुक जा
They will have the end piece.
Yeah, he'll have the hand piece. Just take the king from g8 to g7. His queen is eyeing the pawn. Just look at the time difference. He doesn't even need to think.
You guys are leading in this game, you know, you're upon up.
Are we?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, rook e7, e8 to e7. e8 to e7. Okay, at least we made him think. That's a start. Okay.
Maybe pawn g6 to g5.
Yeah, Yeah, G6 to G5. I think it's a good move. Okay, it wasn't.
And it's still fine. बस king को push कर दो. And if he takes the rook, we can take the queen.
I think we should go to
We can't.
F6,
If we
right?
take the rook, we can't take the king. Let's move the king
F6
leftwards
is... No.
or rightwards, not up or down.
No, I think we should go to F6.
F6.
King to F6.
Should we kill the no?
Rook E7 to E5. I don't make the move. Don't make the move. I'm just suggesting. I think that's a good move.
In this situation, that's the only thing we can do.
Okay. Play it. E7 to E5. Rook E7 to E5. Take the queen. D7 to G4.
And we lose a rook.
No. Okay, wait. He thought this.
King को right में कर दो ना बस.
नहीं भाई. हाँ right में हाँ. E6. Play the king to E6. Take with the king.
Pawn.
Take with the pawn. Take with the pawn.
No, don't take with the pawn. Why do you want to take with the pawn?
Rook के danger में आ जाएगा if he removes the his pawn from E4.
How is he going to remove the pawn from A4? Push कर सकता है ना?
अच्छा हाँ ठीक.
Take with the king. Take with the king. Sarthak, do you want to go in a rook end game? Bishop to B5. Okay, let's go. Bishop to B5. Take the bishop. A7 to A5. F7 to F6. Pawn F7 to F6. Hey, we can ask for more time. That's nice.
Let's push the A pawn so that when he captures the A pawn, we can move the rook and kill both of the pawns.
Okay, yeah. So it's you have two pawns. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, take the pawn. With the pawn. Rook b8 to a8. Okay, he has built a fortress on the left side. Push the d6 pawn to d5. Take with the king. So can we get some extra time?
Of course.
The ease with which he said, of course.
Okay, Adish, you can request some more time.
I think you're giving me time.
Okay,
Yes,
so
can you do
you
that?
might have to click on the more time button.
Where is it?
Okay. Adish, in the meantime, just push the C pawn. Just push the C pawn.
See.
Sir, it's above the chessboard where there's the resign option, draw option, cancel, undo. So there's a more time option as well. So if you can find it.
More time.
Yeah,
What
you're getting
time?
time.
How
Sir,
do I increase it by a lot? I can only do 10 seconds.
2 minutes is fine, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's good. Take with the king. Take on a3.
Yeah. Let's move the king from c4 to c5. Wait, let's
Rather, we should move the rook from a3 to maybe a5. Then we can,
I think we should go behind his 5 pawns with the rook.
That would take 2 moves.
Yeah, but he's anyway going to take the f pawn, right?
He gave us more time.
See, this is just a losing endgame. I mean, 3 versus 2, and his king was on the majority side. So I think we should resign. Okay, but if we still want to play, let's go rook to a5.
or pawn from g5 to g4.
G5 to G4.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that going to achieve? वो anyway मार देंगे ना?
Nothing. बस prolong कर रहे हैं गेम को इस point पे.
Okay, no, I think we should play rook to a5. At least defend this pawn, and we can. But he has 3 pawns, right? I mean. I think it's time to resign. We cannot stop his pawns from marching. That's for sure.
Yeah, so we should not resign. resign. No, we can extend a draw offer.
Oh, sure, for sure. Okay, let's try it. Adish, if you could offer him a draw, let's see.
I'll take it.
We can't do A5 to D5.
E5 to D5.
A5 to D5.
It will not bring anything.
Yeah, what's that going to achieve? It's not even a check. We can't give a check. We can't go with the king on the majority side. He has 3 connected pass pawns. It's just lost. Or if you want him to checkmate us, so that's another thing. But
I think that will at least make us reach an eventuality.
okay. So let's play. What do we play, man? Rook to A4.
Seem to have lost the tab. 1 second.
Rook to A5. Okay, king to D3. Take with the rook. Take with the rook, yes. We will take the pawn and king to E3. Take with the F pawn. G pawn. G kills F. Okay, now we might be able to pull off a stalemate. Maybe, just maybe. King to E3. F3, sorry, F3. G3. King to G3. Okay, now we can't catch the pawn. It's game over. I think we should resign.
No. Draw.
Yes, Adish, go ahead, offer a draw. Let's see if we can draw with him.
Okay. Tickets.
Wow. Right.
Thank you so much, sir. It was great playing with you.
So on behalf of the entire E-Cell DTU team, I would like to thank you for taking out time for your busy schedule, as well as inspirational. And they might not laugh, or they will definitely laugh on our defeat.
No, they won't. Thank you so much, sir. And best of luck with everything.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Don't forget to like and comment the video. Also, subscribe to the channel for more exciting clips by the Entrepreneurship Cell of Delhi Technological University. Signing off, Sarthak Goyal.